The sight of him walking towards me sent a fresh wave of terror through my body. His smirk was a cruel reminder of everything he'd done to me. Desperation surged within me, and I darted towards Gabriel, hoping for some protection. "Gabriel, help me. Get this madman out of our house," I pleaded, my voice breaking. But before I could reach him, Gabriel's hand shot out, stopping me mid-air. His grip was firm and stiff. He clenched his teeth, his eyes cold and hard. "Yes, he's leaving," Gabriel said, his voice tight with controlled anger. "But you're leaving with him." I stared at my brother, my mind reeling. "What do you mean?" I asked, confusion and fear blending together. "Why would I go with him? He kept me prisoner. He—" "Cut the crap, Ariana," he snapped, cutting me off. "We know everything. From when you decided to run away and get married to this—" He gestured toward my swollen belly. My heart sank. I couldn't believe what I was hearing. "Gabriel, you can't be serious. He forced me. I never agreed to any of this. I'm not married to anyone, not even him." I felt like I was on the verge of breaking down. "Please believe me," I cried out to my brother, hoping he could see through my eyes that I was telling the truth. Matthew, who had been silent until now, stepped forward, his expression conflicted. "What if she's telling the truth, Gabe? What if that man kidnapped—" "Stay out of this, Matthew," Gabriel snapped at him, making him retreat with a sympathetic look in my direction. The madman stepped forward, his hands casually tucked into his pants pockets. "Are you done with the sibling drama?" he asked, his voice dripping with sarcasm. A surge of anger coursed through me. I turned to him, my voice shaking with rage. "Why are you doing this to me and my family? What did you tell my brothers to make them not believe a word I say?" He shrugged nonchalantly, his smirk widening. "Nothing, wife." "Stop calling me that," I screamed, my frustration and fear boiling over. "I'm not your wife. I never was, and I never will be." He stepped closer, his expression darkening. "Oh, but you are," he said softly, menace lacing his tone. "And there's nothing you can do about it." "Stop the drama, Ariana," Gabriel snapped, his voice cold and unforgiving. I turned to my brother, my eyes pleading. "Gabriel, please, you have to believe me." Gabriel looked at me like I was a stranger. His eyes were filled with a mix of anger and disappointment. He walked over to the table, picked up his phone and shoved it in front of my face. "Believe you?" he said, his voice dripping with bitterness. "How am I supposed to believe you when you sent these 5 months ago?" He scrolled through a series of texts. Each message was filled with apologies, begging my brothers not to look for me because I had left with the love of my life. I opened my mouth to tell him it wasn't me who sent those messages, but the words died in my throat. My eyes widened as I saw the wedding photos. There I was, or at least a woman who looked exactly like me, standing next to this madman. We were smiling, our hands intertwined, looking every bit like a blissful newlywed couple. My heart pounded in my chest as I tried to process what I was seeing. How could this be possible? The images blurred as tears filled my eyes. Gabriel's voice cut through my confusion, hard and unyielding. "What's your excuse now, Ariana?" he demanded. "No," I whispered, my voice trembling. "That's not me. Gabriel, I swear, that's not me." Gabriel's face twisted with pain as he spoke. "I had so many expectations for you, Ariana. I trusted you, believed in you. And now I'm so disappointed." Desperation clawed at me. I turned towards Ethan, hoping he might listen. "Ethan, please." But Ethan's expression was even colder than Gabriel's. Without a word, he turned away from me and walked into his room, shutting the door behind him. I felt a surge of hopelessness, and my gaze fell on Matthew. He stood there, tears in his eyes as he looked at me with sympathy. He stepped forward and took my trembling hands in his, crying along with me. "Matt, do you believe me?" I asked, my voice barely a whisper. Before Matthew could respond, Gabriel pulled him away, his voice harsh. "Get into your room, Matthew, or I'll kick you out of the house too." As Matthew reluctantly obeyed, his tear-filled eyes never leaving mine, Gabriel turned to the madman. "Get your wife and get out of my house," he ordered, his voice icy. The madman smirked, his eyes glinting with satisfaction. "Gladly," he said, grabbing my arm with a possessive grip. "Let's go, wife," he said mockingly. I looked desperately at Gabriel, hoping for some last-minute reprieve. But his face remained cold, his anger and disappointment radiating off him in waves. "You've made your bed, Ariana. Now lie in it," he said, turning away from me as if he couldn't bear to look at me any longer. My heart shattered as I realized there was no escaping this nightmare. The madman pulled me towards the door, and I stumbled along, my mind racing with fear and confusion. As we reached the threshold, I glanced back one last time, seeing Gabriel's back turned, Ethan's door closed, and Matthew's tearful eyes watching me from the shadows. Stepping outside, the madman led me to a waiting car. As the door closed behind us, the finality of my situation sank in. I was trapped, and my brothers, the people I had relied on my entire life, had turned their backs on me. "Why are you doing this?" I whispered, my voice shaking as I looked at him beside me. His smirk faded, replaced by a cold, calculating stare. He leaned in close, his breath hot against my ear. "Blame it on your face," he hissed. "And you'd better stay quiet the whole ride, or you'll not like what happens next." He leaned forward and tapped on the glass partition. "Drive," he ordered the driver. As the car sped down the road, I tried to piece together how everything had gone so wrong. The fake messages, the manipulated photos, he had gone to great lengths to trap me in this twisted reality. And now, with my family convinced of my betrayal, I had no one to turn to. The car pulled up to what appeared to be a private airport, its runway illuminated by soft, distant lights. As the engine hummed to a halt, the driver swiftly got out and opened the door for him. But as he turned to do the same for me, he intervened, stopping him with a curt gesture. "I'll open it for my wife," he said, his voice dripping with possessiveness. The word wife sent a cold shiver down my spine. It was a word that felt like a heavy chain around my neck, a reminder of the nightmare I was trapped in. As he opened the door for me, he extended his hand, palm up, expecting me to take it. I hesitated, my fear and defiance warring within me. But his growl of command made it clear that disobedience would not be tolerated. With trembling fingers, I reluctantly placed my hand in his. He gripped it tightly, his touch sending a wave of revulsion through me. Without a word, he guided me up the steps into the waiting plane. Inside, the interior was luxurious, but felt suffocating, like a gilded cage. Plush leather seats, polished wood accents, and soft lighting gave an illusion of comfort that only heightened my sense of captivity. Every detail spoke of wealth and power, a stark contrast to the terror gnawing at my insides. He led me to a private cabin at the rear of the plane. The door closed behind us with a soft click, sealing me in with him. He turned to face me, his eyes dark and intense. "Let's get you back home, wife," he said, his voice silky with menace. I swallowed hard, suppressing the urge to scream. This couldn't be happening. I couldn't be trapped here with him, forced into a role I had never chosen. But the evidence, the fake messages, the manipulated photos, had painted a damning picture, one that my family had believed without question. The engines roared to life, vibrating through the cabin as the plane taxied down the runway. With each passing moment, the distance between me and the life I once knew grew, leaving me with nothing but uncertainty and fear for what lay ahead.